Welcome back to our lesson, which is Introducing Anthropology and Biological Anthropology. Our next field of anthropology that we're going to be looking into is archaeology, which is the study of human cultures through the recovery and analysis of material remains and environmental data. So when we're looking at cultural anthropology, we're studying people and their culture, and we're studying those people directly and how they live. Archaeology looks at people and studies them based on their things, their stuff, or things that they leave behind or make, or changes that they make to the environment, and so on and so forth. So we're basically studying clues of humans through archaeology. As you can see in this picture, this archaeology is learning more about people by looking at their trash. Most archaeologists study the distant past, studying cultures either without writing or with limited historic records. In order to do this, archaeologists must learn to read the material record. This is composed of all the physical objects or alterations of physical objects left behind by people. These objects include their tools, their homes, and even more ephemeral traces such as campfires and food remains. Using these traces, archaeologists attempt to reconstruct the culture of the people that left them. Archaeology doesn't only focus exclusively on the distant past, but can study current people as well. For example, this garbage project. As it turns out, through the study, the archaeologists found out that people drink more beer, as seen by cans in their garbage, than they actually claimed to drink in surveys. Archaeology has a unique perspective on what people do. Let's note for a minute the difference between history and prehistoric. The definition of history is the study of written records. Technically, prehistory is the time before written language was used in any given place. Archaeologists can study much further back in time than historians, who are limited to written records. Archaeologists can also study within the ages of written records, often using these records to determine research questions or supplement material remains. This is called historical archaeology. Historical archaeology can be useful in studying societies where not everyone knew how to write or not everyone was written about. It can be great for studying marginalized communities or marginalized people within a historical context through the use of archaeological methods. Linguistic anthropology studies human language. It looks at the structure and history of language as well as its relation to social and cultural contexts. Language is one of the most unique aspects of being human. Anthropologists in the linguistic anthropology field may work on preserving languages, determining language origins, and many other projects which examine language and social life. Applied anthropology is our next field. It may or may not be in your textbook, but it's important to know. It's often called the fifth field of anthropology. Applied anthropology is the application of anthropological data, perspectives, theory, and methods to identify, assess, and solve contemporary social problems. Subfields within applied anthropology include public archaeology, community development, working with descendant communities, and interpretive projects for the public. Those are more examples rather than subfields. Applied anthropology also includes resource management, contract archaeology, public educational programs, and historic preservation. One of the biggest subsections of applied anthropology is cultural resource management, often called CRM, which is a type of archaeology that decides what needs to be saved, preserved, or what significant information about a site needs to be preserved, especially when an archaeological site cannot be saved, often due to things like development and construction. Finally, let's get to our field, physical or biological anthropology. Biological anthropology studies humans as biological organisms that have evolved. Some subfields of this field include paleoanthropology, primatology, forensic anthropology, and molecular and genetic anthropology.